Let me tell you about a morning at Memphis International Airport that started like any other, but ended up flipping a whole conversation on its head. Yeah, you might want to stick around for this. Because what happened to Jasper Washington could happen to anybody, and you'll want to know how it played out when the rules of respect and dignity were put to the test at 30,000 feet. Right there in front of a whole cabin full of strangers who couldn't decide if they should pull out their phones, look away, or finally take a side. You know what I mean? Jasper stepped onto that plane just before sunrise, first-class ticket in hand, suit pressed, confidence solid, the kind of guy who walks like he belongs because, hell, he earned it. Years of hustling, sacrificing, breaking through ceilings that weren't built for him. But nobody sees all that when you're just a face in the boarding line. And that's the thing. Most folks look right through you unless something goes sideways. And this was about to go way sideways. He got to his seat, 2A window, the one he booked weeks ago, and there's a woman already parked there, designer blanket spread out like she owned half the cabin. "Ma'am, that's my seat," Jasper said, steady, polite. Not looking for trouble, just expecting the system to work the way it's supposed to, right? But she didn't budge, just looked over those sunglasses and said, "These seats are taken." Her voice dripping with that tone, you know the one, all ice and entitlement. Suddenly, the whole cabin goes quiet. People start looking up, a few phones sneak out. Because folks love drama as long as they're not in it. Jasper's still standing, trying not to make a scene, but then, bam, red wine spills, splashing across his lap, his shirt, the armrest. Was it an accident? Who knows, but it felt like a message. Sit down and take it, or make it worse for yourself. And in that moment, the air changed. What started as a seat mix-up turned into something bigger, a showdown about respect, about race, about who gets to claim space in a world built on invisible lines. He tried to keep it together, wiping off his suit, ignoring the looks, but you could see the sting in his eyes. A brother in the row behind him leaned forward and murmured, "That's messed up, man. You paid for first class, too." That little show of solidarity, quiet, almost invisible, meant more than any apology. And then the flight attendant came over. "All business," her badge said Heather. "Ma'am, I need you to move to your assigned seat. We're preparing for departure." You'd think that would be it, but not with Kimberly Porter. Yeah. He caught her name soon enough. She clung to the armrest like her life depended on it, threw on a brittle smile, and said, "I get anxious. You wouldn't want me to have a panic attack, would you?" Heather didn't flinch. She'd seen it all before. "We can help you with that, but we need to follow protocol." Finally, Kimberly got up, making a show of it, muttering about standards slipping everywhere, gathering her things as if the very air had offended her. Jasper sat down at last, but you could feel the humiliation settle on him, heavy and sour. The wine stain and the memory of being tested, again, in front of an audience. The plane took off, engines roaring, and for a second, he tried to lose himself in his phone, scrolling through meeting notes for the negotiation waiting for him in New York, but the words blurred. His mind was spinning with old lessons, his mom's sacrifices, his granddad's gravelly voice. Let your work speak louder than their prejudice, but never let them steal your voice. And just as he tried to find his center, Kimberly ramped up again, loud enough for half the plane to hear. "I can't believe I have to eat this. Do you people not have standards?" Heads turned. A young woman across the aisle looked up from her laptop, caught Jasper's eye, and whispered, "I'm so sorry you have to deal with this." He gave a nod, tight-lipped, choosing silence over escalation, knowing sometimes speaking just feeds the fire. But Kimberly wasn't done. She flagged the flight attendant again, gestured at Jasper with her glass like he was some kind of threat. "Are you going to let him sit there after what happened? I feel threatened. I don't want to be responsible if something happens to me." The attendant stayed cool. "Ma'am, Mr. Washington has done nothing wrong. You're both safe here." But Kimberly raised her chin and dropped the trump card. "My brother-in-law is on the airline's board. I'll have your job if you don't do something." The attendant just said, "Our policy applies to everyone, ma'am," and walked away, but you could see Jasper's hands shaking, the effort it took not to react. He pulled out a photo, his mother and grandfather, beaming outside their Memphis apartment. Let it ground him, give him a little piece of home while the flight dragged on, hours blurring by, some passengers offering a glance or a nod, others pretending nothing was happening. The pressure built, the air in the cabin getting thicker, until finally, Kimberly called over the head attendant, voice icy. "This man is harassing me. I don't feel safe. I want him moved." The head attendant stood firm. "We have several passengers who witnessed what happened, Miss Porter. There's been no harassment. Please enjoy the remainder of your flight." Kimberly's face twisted, voice rising. "You'll all regret this. You have no idea who I am." Suddenly, the captain's voice broke in over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, due to a passenger issue, we're temporarily delaying further service while we address the matter. Thank you for your patience." The mood turned electric. Everyone knew something real was happening, something that might not get swept under the rug this time. A few minutes later, Jasper got a quiet call to step into the galley and talk to the captain, away from the staring eyes. He laid it out, who he was, what was at stake, and how unchecked discrimination could cost the airline far more than an awkward flight. The captain listened, nodded, and that was that. Energy on board shifted, and when they landed, the plane didn't just pull up to the gate. Waiting outside, senior airline management, security, the whole deal. Kimberly was asked to step aside for questioning. She protested, loud and indignant. But they stayed calm, walked her down the jet bridge, her voice echoing off the glass as she disappeared. In the cabin, people started to exhale, some clapped, others just looked relieved. The head attendant came over and said, "Thank you for your patience, Mr. Washington. On behalf of the crew, I apologize for everything you endured." Jasper just replied, "Change takes all of us. Thank you for standing up for what's right." As he walked off the plane, a few passengers stopped him, a handshake, a quiet "thank you." A smile from a young black woman who said, "You showed more strength than most people could, sir. Thank you." By the time Jasper reached his meeting, the whole thing was already blowing up online. Passenger videos going viral. News networks picking up the story, people recognizing their own struggles in his calm refusal to be pushed aside. That evening, the airline put out a public apology, announced changes in staff training and passenger policy, and banned Kimberly Porter for life. Her name, once just another face in first class, became a cautionary tale. Jasper closed the business deal in a borrowed suit, but that wasn't the real win. The real victory was bigger, a shift in the air, proof that you don't have to swallow indignity in silence. That sometimes standing your ground is the spark for something wider, something that tells the world, enough. The story wasn't just his anymore. It belonged to everyone who'd ever been told to move, to be quiet, to take less. Stepping out into the terminal, Jasper paused under the fluorescent lights, his new jacket a little off-kilter, watching travelers rush past, some exchanging knowing looks, some lost in their own worlds. He didn't want applause. He just wanted dignity. But that day, respect found him. A nod from a stranger, a handshake from a business traveler, a grateful smile from the flight crew. It hit him. This was never just about a seat. It was about opening space for dignity, making sure nobody has to fight alone next time. By nightfall, the news was everywhere. Policies changing, conversations shifting, and for the first time in a long time, the silence that let prejudice hide was finally broken. For Jasper, a quiet certainty settled in. Real change starts when one person refuses to look away, when courage ripples outward. And yeah, this flight was over, but the reckoning? Only just beginning. So what do you think? Was justice served, or is there still more work to do? When people with privilege finally get held accountable, does it change anything for the rest of us? Or is it just a headline? Drop your thoughts below. Share your own stories if you've got them. And let's keep this conversation alive, because the only way things really change is when everyone's voice gets heard.